title of the exchange is 10 things I learned integrating a higher education recycling system. It will last approximately 40–45 minutes, depending on how much insight we can get from Daniel. Thank you for registering, and thanks also to Daniel O'Connor from, well, technically this is from Newcastle University, although Daniel has recently left to pursue his own businesses with waste action, water and clean campus, which are worth checking out if you wanted to do that. My name's Emma, and I'm the Member Events and Communities Officer here at the EAUC. As you know, the EAUC deliver the Sustainability Exchange, which is funded by HESCI and led by Staffordshire University. So what are exchanges? Exchanges are free lunchtime webinars on a range of sustainability topics. Anyone can present them. Just get in touch with us at sustainabilityexchange@eauc.org.uk or myself today. So just got a little bit of housekeeping to go over now. I hope that everyone can hear okay. We have been talking on the chat box, so I hope that's all clear. I have muted you all just to avoid background noise so that you can hear as clearly as possible. If you have any issues here and at any point during the exchange, could you just use the chat box to send me a message privately saying so, and I'll try and figure it out. Hopefully most of you have working microphones. Don't worry if you don't, as you'll still be able to have the chance to ask any questions at the end by typing them to me in the chat box, and I'll read them aloud. The webinar is being recorded so that you can view it again or share it with colleagues. It will be made available on the Sustainability Exchange with the presentation and any other resources, hopefully a few hours after the exchange has ended. You'll be sent a short survey as well to gain your feedback, and please, if you can, take the time to complete this. Okay, so that's all from me for now. If you have any queries, just pop them to me in the chat box. So yeah, thank you, and now it's over to Daniel.
Hey guys, how are you doing? Hope you're well. Thanks for coming and listening to me. I'll tell you what I'm going to do first, and then I'll do a little bit of background. But first of all, yeah, thanks for coming. What I'm going to do now is just talk about my experiences at Newcastle University and the lessons I learned while I was there for the 5.5 years I was there. I've recently left. So I'm on my own now. I'm out in the big, scary, wide world. I put this presentation together in my head over the last few months, and I only really committed it to paper yesterday. So I hope it's going to last about 40 minutes, with a bit of chat at the end. I've done it on a PowerPoint. I wasn't really confident on using anything else but PowerPoint for the webinar. So what would be really handy for me would be if you could just let me know in the chat box what sort of stage you're at with your recycling, whether you have a mature recycling scheme, i.e., you know, it's embedded, it's going okay, or whether you're reviewing an existing one to improve it, or whether you're starting from scratch. It'd be really useful for me if you could just tell me in the chat box, or tell everybody in the chat box at what stage you're at. And then, you know, I'll know how to put more of my presentation to give you if you like. Okay, so if you could do that in the chat box, that would be really cool. So yeah, lovely. Let's get started. Page down. Where are you? Bear with me 2 seconds. Here we go. So yeah, what you're going to learn from this session is I will try to give you actionable tips and advice. What I mean by that is stuff that you can take away from the webinar and implement in your own systems. When I say mistakes, well, when I say lessons, I really mean mistakes. Mistakes I've made, which I've learned from. And although this is pitched around waste and rolling out waste and recycling, you could actually use this for any of your sustainability activities, really, because it's all about changing behaviour. So what I'll do, how I'll sort of illustrate all of this is I'll tell a story around my experience of a particular lesson, so you can get into a bit of so you can understand where I'm coming from. What I won't be going into today is any sort of great level of detail. You know, I'm just going to be talking story really. So I'm not going to be going into strategy planning, action planning. I'm not going to be going into legal issues or technical issues. and I'm, unless someone raises it, I won't really be going into the different types of recycling you can do and the benefits and the pros and cons of source separation or dirty immerse and that sort of thing. I'm sure it'll raise its head though. Okay. So yeah, a bit of background. I'll tell you what I'm going to do before I go on. I'm just going to read out to everybody what's been. I'm just looking at these clips. So Emily White would like to improve her existing scheme. Dawn from Dundee has been doing a lot of recycling and now she wants to add food. And so she's looking at vegware at the moment. Also looking at signage. Nicola, hi Nicola, is reviewing the recycling scheme. So she's had one already, but she's looking to improve it. And we have Elide is looking to work with University College to improve recycling. Rachel is in the process of tendering a waste contract and changing their system. Hi Rachel, I think we've talked on email, haven't we? So I've got some intended examples to share with you. And Shauna, hi Shauna, haven't heard from you on Twitter for a while. Shauna could do with some improvements on her scheme. Alan is refining his existing scheme. Adam is reviewing constantly at staff scheme, good one. Victoria is moving to DMR system, where they've got some food waste. If anyone, DMR is driving us to cycling. Great. So let's crack on. Right. So the story at Newcastle University. So I've worked in waste management all of my life, all of my working life. I mean, well, actually, in all my life, my great granddad was a rag and bone man, so I've kind of had it in my blood. The background of this is that I did start working in local authorities before the university, so I'd actually made a lot of mistakes already before I came to university, where I'd learned. I'd been involved with putting out recycling on a massive scale to 500,000 householders. So I learned about communication, how to communicate wrongly to people, how to sort of ride roughshod over existing practices at home without even notifying anybody. I was involved with the scheme once in Scarborough Borough Council. I probably shouldn't have said that. Yeah, I was involved with the scheme with the North Yorkshire Council, let's say, and then we put in 5,000 wheelie bins without even telling them what we got them down on a Monday morning, and we kind of expected the householders to know what to do. Obviously, they didn't understand, and it failed. So at Newcastle University, when I came there, I'd already had a lot of training, a lot of learnings, a lot of lessons learned. And I'd also, I had a blank slate at Newcastle University as well. So I kind of saw Newcastle as either like a little town or a big village. 25,000 people on site. You can see in this map that it's a city campus of quite a large footprint. We've got about 50 buildings, and we've got new and we've got old buildings. So the story there was, I arrived in the 2008 and immediately set away put in a recycling scheme. Within 6 months, I took it from 20% up to 60%, and then in the following year, I then took that to 90% plus. Now 90% plus sounds amazing, but it isn't actually that amazing. I'll touch on that later on. First tip of the morning, of the afternoon now, is if you aren't familiar with RAP, you really should be. They're an excellent resource, and they have done everything before. They've done loads of studies. They've done studies into consumer behaviour. They've done studies into communications, how best to talk to people. So you need to be aware of this with this website, which I'm just going to share. Just bear with me. I'm just going to share my screen. No, that's not it. Oh no, it is. Bear with me. Great. Right. So Recycle Now. This is Recycle Now Partners. So this is their website. You can just register for it. I mean, look at this. This is great. On the first page, you can actually download a calendar, which gives you monthly themes on recycling. It'll have all of the different recycling activities that happen nationwide. There's loads and loads of stuff on here that you should really be looking at if you haven't already. Okay. And while I'm just into here, let me just Oops. Where are we? Let's stop sharing this. Okay, we're back. Okay, we're back on this page. So yeah, first tip of the day, the first actionable tip of the day that you can take away now, if you haven't already, is to make sure that you get involved with RAP. I'm just seeing here that some people can't hear. Anyway, I'll carry on. Right, so that's RAP. That's the first actionable tip. So my general lessons for the next sort of 35, 40 minutes are these are the general lessons I learned while at Newcastle, and I'm going to be a deep on each one. So in general, I learned that a passive rollout without any sort of strict policy change was more successful than a rollout that was dictated what you had to do, and it was very authoritarian. I learned that you had to have easy to use infrastructure, so I say this word beyond idiot proof. It's got to be, really simple. Good communications, I'd say excellent communications. I also learned that personal contact is very important. I'll explain that. Incremental rollouts, that is, breaking the project down into smaller parts and doing it in a scheduled manner, and also keeping it simple. I'm very simple. I'm a simple person, and any extra actions or extra instructions generally confuse people. So I'll explain a little bit about that as well. Here's just one example of some communications which kind of demonstrates all of the above. Very simple. Just a few bits of information there. Little bit of comedy, very strong branding, and a contact website. First of all, let's talk about the first lesson. Is your approach and your mindset. So I came from the local authority where it was kind of standard. It was standard to get so much abuse from people about recycling that I developed a really thick skin, and realized that you can't keep people happy all of the time, and generally you can't even keep half the people happy. And I realized you're going to get people who are going to hate things because they just hate things. So this sort of thing was always in my mind. And then Jaime said this to me later on, about 2 years in. He said that this was the biggest cultural change at the university. Now, that kind of hit home with me when he said that, because when I started, I didn't really realize that. So I didn't really realize what a significant thing rolling out recycling was at university. So, when you do this, or when you've already done it, you're really affecting how people behave at work in a significant way. So I didn't bear that in mind at the time, and I think that gave me a bit more. Oops, sorry about that. That gave me a bit more sort of. I didn't really think about what I was doing, if you like. So I wasn't concerned with people's opinion or what might happen. So lesson one was mindset. What I mean by that is, you've got to kind of have the mindset where you're going to have to expect ups and downs, peaks and troughs. You've got to roll with the punches. People having a go at you about something, you kind of got to take it on the chin. Another great thing is celebrate your wins. Celebrate all those little mini wins, because they're really important for motivational things for you and for the people. And kind of forget about the stuff forget about your losses. Learn from it, embrace failure, but forget about them, and just get on with it. Another thing, of course, is passion and enthusiasm is really important. And in your mindset as well, you've got to think about, this is all to do with people and how they behave. So you've got to have pretty strong people skills. You've got to be disciplined. You've got to follow a schedule and create a schedule and follow it. And also you've got to be confident in what you're doing, because you're bringing around change here. So that's one was mindset. I'm just these are the only two slides I'm going to use where it's got a graph on it, because graphs are boring. But they show a really good adoption pattern for any. This is for any innovation. So you will find when you roll out your recycling that you have your early adopters and your innovators who will pick it up and use it easily. And then you've got your early majority and late majority, and they're just kind of people who are kind of seeing what others are doing and kind of on the fence. And if you get the majority of people to use your recycling scheme, and talk about it, then you're going to get this middle hump joining as well. And then you've got your laggards. You're always going to have the people who will dig their heels in and complain. Those are the haters who are going to hate basically, as Seth Gordon said. And this is an important slide for the rest of my presentation and actually the approach that I took at the university. You'll see in green, this is adoptions to change behaviour just from standard media, so your posters, your stickers, your newsletters, that sort of thing. What you'll see here, this pink part, this is peer marketing. This is people chatting about these new schemes, and it shows how peer influence works. So you'll see this is the amount of people who change. The green line is the amount of people who change behaviour as a result of mass media. That trails off. What you'll see as people start talking about it, it actually affects other people's behaviour. So this is just an important graph to bear in mind when I go on to my next few slides. Lesson 2, I would say, would be rapport, and building rapport with people. It's very important. You're all on this journey, this new journey together of new behaviours, and how I kind of really solidified my thinking around rapport was I was chatting about what I was doing to my wife, and my wife's the sales manager, and she gave me loads of tips on how to build rapport with people. You've got to understand their objectives. So what are they looking for in their daily life? So if it's a procurement manager, you need to talk to them about savings. If it's a lab manager, you need to talk about how this is going to make his lab safer. If it's an administrator, you've got to talk about how this is going to make their life easier, and the same with cleaners and that sort of thing. And so you've got to understand their objectives, and you've got to pitch it to the different types of groups. And you can use certain techniques to disarm people. Listening is the best one. Listen to what they're saying and offer solutions. Another one, if you've got somebody who really disagrees with what you're saying, or even if you know that if you walk into a meeting and you know it's kind of like hostile already, or there's a hostile atmosphere, you can really disarm people by actually just saying, look, what do you like about the new system, and what don't you like about it? Or sorry, going back, what do you like about the existing system, and what don't you like it? And then when they tell you what they don't like, that's when you can offer solutions for improvement, and then that's a nice way to build rapport. I think another thing about building rapport is being honest and transparent, and try to under promise. And I'll come on to that. I'll come on to an example of that. And also, you've got to be flexible. Don't be draconian. Don't be authoritarian. If something's not working and people don't like it, you need to change. And so a story around that would be about we introduced food waste, and there was on a Friday afternoon, because of the way the cleaning schedule worked, there was fruit flies would hatch over the weekend when it was hot in the summer, and I received reports about this and kind of didn't act on them very quickly, and this was a mistake because it kind of like it showed to people that I kind of wasn't really listening. So that was a big pointer for me, and that is so as a result we had to change that system a little bit and do collections on a Friday afternoon. But what the lessons I learned from that was when a problem starts, you kind of got to react quite quickly to nip it in the bud and show people that you're taking action. And then another great point about rapport, right, is another great thing about rapport is that you are building rapport with these people on campus, so they have a face to the recycling scheme. So there's one person or a team of people which they know they are Mr. or Mrs. Recycle or Dan Waste Man or whatever. So there's an identity there, and what that means is people then on the recycling, they're doing it because it's you. It's not because of this faceless scheme. There's a bit of humanity there, and I'll go on that a little bit more later. So that's lesson 2, is building rapport. I've got a few more points about that. This is a take-home tip, right, which my wife says to me, but is totally applicable. When you're in these meetings with people, these stakeholder meetings and phone calls, you don't need to talk. Let them get it off the chest. Let them tell you their problems and empathise. And basically, it's 2 years one now. So that's a nice little tip for you. take away home tip, and that applies to anything in any working activity. Consultation is a big thing about rapport. So you've got to consult all these stakeholder groups, not all at once, obviously. I'll go into detail about that later on. But you need an ongoing consultation program. Now, one of the big things at Newcastle that I regretted was I turned up and they'd already bought the bins for this new scheme, so I didn't have a chance to consult on the bins. So that was a bit of a failure, and it set us back a little bit. And I'll go into that a little bit more in detail. What I'd like to say on stakeholders is you have got some key people. You've got some key people here listed, and it's the key people who will do the talking on your behalf. So when you go back to that graph and you see the influence that the peers have on others, cleaners, secretaries are great to get on board because they actually influence those academic units. So they actually influence the academics, they influence the students. So secretaries or administrators are a great key influencer. Builder managers as well. If you were a builder manager who runs a tight ship, if you get him or her on board, they will do your job for you. So spend a lot of time on building rapport with these groups. Okay, that's a lesson I learned. That's a very important lesson I learned about rapport. Okay, I put this slide up because I wanted to touch on under promising, over delivering. And when I came to Newcastle, I don't know how it started, but it was a really happy accident. There was a rumour going around that I was going to take away everybody's bins, everybody's desk side bins, and this is a nice little tip. And I never started the rumour. I don't know where it came from. It was a total accident. But so I was going to these meetings where people were already kind of like resistant to change because of the bin issue, and everybody's really, personal about their bin. But I've never really said that, and I've actually learned already in local authority that that's not. It's a difficult thing to actually manage and do correctly. And so this whisper went out about me taking away their bins. But all I wanted to do was I wanted to drop the servicing arrangement to their general waste bins. So basically, instead of doing 5 collections in a week to every single person's bin, we drop it down to 1 collection a week. And because of the whisper that went around and the sort of the offer of me doing well, I just collect for 1 day a week rather than 5, it sailed through without any resistance. So people felt that they hadn't been shortchanged, and actually they were getting a good deal. So that's a nice little story. I'm going to talk about the bin saga here. So I mentioned earlier that when I turned up, the bins had already been bought. So I was behind already, and the bins, they were suitable for some locations, but not others. And you'll see here that they've got like DIY stickers on, which is another normal. But lesson 3 is fully test the bins before you put them, if you can. I know the majority of you have already bought yours, but you need to test. You need to test bins, and you probably agree. You need to test bins with all the stakeholders, especially the cleaners for servicing. But you've got to test different locations, different bins. What we found with these ones was that they were only suitable in kitchens. They weren't suitable in corridors because they're a drawer system. So you've got a student come along, they're on the phone, doing Facebook, they're carrying the lever arch files. They haven't got any spare hands to lift the shelf forward, so they weren't getting used. And then in the kitchen, kind of great because there was a small footprint, but the shelves weren't big enough for all plastic. So lots of problems around the bins, and we actually over the years have probably spent I'd say between 40 and probably £50,000 on bins. So really important to get right. What I will say is, and I'm just going to go out of the screen into share application. What I will say is, there's loads of different configurations of bin out there. And you've probably got like 15 sort of top suppliers. Sorry about that. 15 top suppliers, And sorry, and there's just so many out there, different types of bins. One thing I will say is, you don't be shy. Ask the suppliers to send a sample of the bins, and you can then test different bins in different scenarios, and you won't make the same mistakes that I did. Sorry about that. And you won't make the same mistakes as I did, which was getting the wrong bins to start with and having to sort of mix and match later on. So tip to take away: always ask you some. Be confident, be cheeky. You're about to spend, a lot of money with the supplier, so it's in their best interest to send you a supply. Okay, jumping on and moving forward. I notice I'm 35 minutes in already. The recycling ID, I didn't understand when I first set off how important this is, to have a consistent brand and message and tone and look and feel to your recycling scheme, or even to your wider sustainability activities. I'm going to show you 3 resources to demonstrate this. But you've got passive communications, which is stuff that once you've done it, you put it out there and it's always there. That's your posters, your stickers. But you've also got active communications, and that's you talking. It's the meetings you're going to. It's the cleaners who are talking about it. It's the people, it's the peers out there who are talking about your recycling scheme. So different types. I'll just show you some really good resources online to develop your brands and your ID. So first thing you need to know is RAP have done this all before. So they've got 15 years experience of doing this. So there's loads of great resources on the RAP side. So check that out. There's also a consultancy, there's a bit of a plug, Futera, who have some great downloadable free resources which help you develop your brand and your identity. And I wanted to give you an that'll do for now. Let's go back to the screen. We're at the halfway point here. Great to see you're all talking there in the chat thing. That's brilliant. Right, so I'm going to go back to the. So yeah, we've done that. So what was the lesson here? Well, it's about the idea, but it's also the bin to look appealing and user friendly. So that's going just 2 slides back. That's about it being convenient and easy for people to use and for the cleaners to use. I became known on campus as Dan Sticker Man. I got kind of obsessed with how the bins look. And here's a little tip for you. If you look at that picture, you'll see in the top left there's a grey sticker that says food tins and drink cans. Now, I got those printed, and this is a lesson learned. Because it said food tins on it, people would put food waste in the bin. So then if you look just to the right of that, there's a new one that says cans. So that's an example of, little things when you communicate and what impact they're going to have. Literally, when we changed those stickers, we stopped food contamination in the can bin almost straight away. Just a little tip for you there. And just just to show you some of the sort of stuff I would see on campus which I really didn't like, and which kind of like it makes the system look unprofessional. Handwritten signs like this, like that. So didn't like that. And I always used to tell the cleaners, keep it straight, keep the sticker straight, and no creases. And I'll come on to sticker application later on. Laura's saying my sticker pile looks like her sticker pile. Yeah, true. You will note though, there's it's in file trays and in trays, so a little bit of order there. If anybody wants any of these icons for their stickers, I can provide them. You might notice in the top right there's a one for lab glass. So I actually customized the wrap guidance. Emily's asking what I did for lab glass. Yeah, Nicola, great, yeah. So what we did for lab glass was, well, okay, I'm jumping ahead and I'm jumping into a little bit of detail, but lab glass is really interesting. There's a few different types of glass recycling. You can either have your traditional recycling where they take the glass, melt it down, make new bottles, lovely. Or the more commonplace at the moment is actually they take your glass, grind it down into a construction material and use it as a bedding for road. Now, if your contractor does do that, then they will be able to take Pyrex and ceramics, and if you can recycle Pyrex and ceramics, that means you can bring your labs into your recycling scheme. It's a bit more complicated than that. There's a bit of an issue around decontamination, biological decontamination. But I can give you some advice on that later on if you wish. Lovely. So let's go on. By the way, you might not have heard. I mean, I've only recently heard of this term, but yeah, you've heard of the term upcycling, but there's a term called downcycling as well. And recycling glass for construction waste to be used in roads, that's downcycling, because the value of the material isn't really being used very well, being used once as a construction road material, when in reality it could really be used many times over to recycle back in a glass product. So if you've not heard of that term, like I hadn't until recently, that's downcycling, and I think that will come into much more importance in the future, as we get headed into a bit of a resource situation. So we'll just skip forward. Right, okay, so my next message, my next learning is that, and this is all about rapport, follows on from rapport read, but people, when I say buy, people will buy new behaviour patterns from people they know and like and trust. So I never really appreciated that I became a kind of a face on campus for recycling. So I was the personality, I was the go-to person, I was the human face for recycling, which is good because people get humility and rapport, and you can talk to people, and it just was a kind of like a real fight them on the beaches type of like approach where I was talking to everybody on the street. I was talking to groups of administrators, groups of cleaners, senior management, all that sort of thing. So that was my lesson 5, be a face. And I've got a couple of tips that spin out of that, right? Where you've got to show, or I found that I was shown that I was going to these meetings and really hammer on about recycling and trying to build rapport. And actually, in one day, I remember I did 9 meetings in one day. This is when we were rolling out the scheme, and I'll explain a bit more about the rollout procedure later on. But I had 9 meetings in one day, and I was thinking, well, how could I even be effective in having 9 meetings? Because I've got to come back, write the notes up, and and so I kind of had a bit of a word of myself. But then I said, well, actually, in those meetings, I'm building rapport and I'm building friendships and I'm making connections, and I'm spreading the word about this new scheme. So yeah, 2 tips that you can take away now is when you're putting the bins out, be there, help the guys or the porters or the cleaners or whoever's putting the bins out, and do it in the day so staff can see what you're doing and they can see the work that's going into it, and you're there to talk to them. That's a great tip. I didn't do that. I learned that later on. Dawn's saying she's also the health and safety officer, got all the popular jobs. Nice one. Tip 2 would be, if you're putting stickers on your bins, get down there and help the people who are doing it. I used to give it to the cleaners to do, and I kind of felt guilty that I did that, so I'd join them and put the stickers on. But also, at that point, I was building rapport with the cleaners and the operatives, and the cleaners and the operatives are the grease that cog the oils on the campus. I don't know what your cleaning schedules are like. It might be at the night time, but I was in the daytime, so there were a really good communication through the cleaners. And also, I got students to help put stickers on as well. So I'd have, well, I remember a few times when I had 20+ students all in a garage putting stickers on bins, and obviously not a great job, but give them something to do. Victoria's saying, I've spent many happy days sticking on bins, just an excuse to wear jeans to work. Little side story, Victoria sold me a load of glass and plastic recycling lids, which usually cost seven quid each, and I can't remember what I paid for them, but thank you for that, Victoria. That helped a lot. Another good tip on this, by the way, is be seen on campus wheeling around recycling bins, because people just see what you're doing. And I've had senior staff stop me and go, I'm talking about verses and things like that, say, what do you think you're doing? Why aren't the porters doing this job? And I was like, well, no, look, I want to be a face on campus, and I want people to see me doing the recycling. Okay, I'm only on tip 5, so I'm gonna speed up a little bit now and just get through to the end. We're gonna have a towards the end. The lessons come thick and fast. So I'm moving on to the rollout now, so the actual physical rollout of your recycling scheme. And I put this quote up from Yoda because when I got to the university, I was really keen to hit the floor running, but I felt a little bit overwhelmed by the task. There was 55 buildings, and I just could not get my head around how I should do it. And this is common now, but at the time, you know, it might not have been. But I broke down the rollout into a building per month. So I did a building per month on the rollout, so that if I did a building per month, I could talk to the stakeholders beforehand. I could talk to the stakeholders in meetings while I was doing the scheme. I could talk to them afterwards. And the important thing to remember from this is validated learning. While I was rolling out a building A, I could look at it and see what worked and what didn't, and change it for building B, and change that for building C. And by like building E and F, I had a recycling system that people were like happy to use. So I could change it as I went. So that would be my lesson 6 would be pilot the scheme, put it into one building, review it, change it again and again and again. Now I just want to show you a link here. So I'm going to come out of this. And if I could get on this. And I'm just going to show you actually what my schedule was now. When I say schedule, that was my rollout schedule. So I've got a rollout plan here. And I'm hoping it's going to open. There we go. So, oh, it's gone a little bit funny. Not to worry. So I've got a rollout plan here, which just this was my strategy, if you like, which I can share with you, no problem. But I wanted to show you something at the end. I had a communication program, which you can't really see there very well, unfortunately. But basically, this is a communication program for one building. So it says 2 months before meeting with stakeholders, so department heads, administrators, cleaners, distribute the information. So there's a little leaflet with what I had. 1 month before, an update session with all stakeholders. 2 weeks before, cleaners briefing, leaflet goes out. Standalone banners, large poster goes out, smaller poster goes out, banners. 1 week before, I did a waste clinic. So I have a waste clinic where people just came and asked questions and give abuse. Then bin day, I call that B day, where we delivered the bins and we did, you know, loads of like communications on the day. Then after bin day, then 1 to 6 months after. So each building got a schedule like that. Now I'm sorry that isn't very clear. I can send that out as part of the follow-up. This was the leaflet that people got on their desk about a month. Thanks, Laura. The waste clinics, Laura, since you like the waste clinic, what the waste clinics did was for me was it gave people an opportunity to come down again and see me, and you know, I'd answer their particular questions, which was really handy for them. It also gave people a chance to vent and, you know, have a bit of a go at me as well, for changing their life, and I'd have a chance to listen to them, hear what they were saying, and try, like I said, to build that rapport. Whenever I had someone who was difficult, and my wife actually gave us this advice as well. She's like, whenever I had someone difficult, my motivation then became, I need to turn this person around and get them to agree that this recycling can be a good thing. So that was a little motivator for me. So I can send this sort of thing out. You know, you see I've used a bit of humor up there. One day soon you'll be like me. That's off wrap, by the way. So that's the sort of thing that went out. Very simple communication. So back to the presentation now. I'm trying to sort of wrap this up before the end of the hour. I've rabbited on way too much. So important one from that is your validated learning. Do it as a pilot and review. Okay, so feedback is very important. You've probably heard this quote before. I'm no doubt that you have. I kind of turned it on its head a little bit. We measured each building's recycling rate before and after, and ongoing. So we always knew what the recycling rate was of the building. Now, you might not be able to do that, or you might think you can't be able to do it, but I'll explain how you can do that fairly easily. You can actually use your cleaners or your porters or whatever to visually assess the recycling and the general waste and the card or whatever that's coming out of the building, and you can assign a thumb in the air sort of estimation of their recycling rate, and then you can put that into a league table. Two lessons here, 7 and 8. League tables work really well. You know, everyone knows about the Green League. If you're in the bottom half, you hate it. If you're in the top half, you're not too bothered. But you can't argue with the fact that they work. So we use those, and we still use those at Newcastle University to stimulate recycling. And if someone's in the bottom 3, and I've seen this happen, the building manager, if they see this in the bottom 3, they will just make recycling work in that building. I had one example of someone in the bottom 3 one quarter, and the next quarter they were top. So that works. Another thing, punishment. Okay, so as part of my scheme, I said to people, look, you've got to recycle, we're going to reduce your bins to just a collection of 1 day a week. So if you don't recycle, you're going to have rubbish spewing out your bins. And so this was a mistake on my part. So anyone who had rubbish spewing out the bins, the cleaners would put a pre-printed post-it note on a desk which said something like, hi, it looks like you're struggling with recycling. Please give me a ring and then we can have a little chat. And we'll have my number, it's Daniel 8963, which is my extension. So people would get these 3 striking it out, like 3 post-it notes on the desk saying, you know, you're struggling with recycling, give Daniel a ring. And if on the 4th occasion they still weren't recycling, I actually got special, you know the police incident tape that you see. I got polite incident tape done in green, and on that polite incident tape, the cleaners would put that over the bin, with recycling inside, saying, "Sorry, we can't enter your bin because you haven't been recycling. And please give Daniel a ring on this number." Now, yeah, talking about it now, it seems really, really over the top. But that's what we did, and what I found was the people who didn't recycle, you know, it just alienated them. And actually, I had one incident where the guy hadn't been recycling, so I went out to see him, and we arranged it. And I walked in, and he had all of these post-it notes that he'd been given on the back of his door, like a kind of like as a proud thing to do. You know, he's like, you know, the recycling police have given me 30 post-it notes, for example, and so. What I'd say on that is, you know, punishing people is not, you've got to think hard about what you want to do. Now, Sherry Lee Miles, who people might know, who runs a thing called ASD Solutions, she gave me a great tip, and that was reward those who do recycling. So leave a little chocolate on the desk, but don't leave them for the people who don't. So it kind of turns it on its head a bit. Okay, so the lesson learned there was league tables do work, great, and punishment doesn't. Okay, so we're getting into the final straights now. This is something that I used to my advantage quite a lot. You know, I wasn't really shy in saying to people, look, this is really hard. Can you help me out? And I'm talking about the bursar actually asked me one day, well, when I was in a meeting actually, and he said, what can I do to help you? And I said, you know, you've got to tell everybody this recycling thing. This recycling is going to be a good thing. It's saving us money, and it's a good thing. I want to get all to do it. So the bursar was telling people. But also with cleaners, you know, I'd say, you know, can you help us put these stickers on? Or, you know, just showing a little bit of just showing that you're weak, you know, you're just human, and can you give us a hand? And the good thing about asking for help was, often these people could do it far better than you. So building managers, there was a chap called Bob Nicholson who ran a really tight ship. And I was like, Bob, you know, can you help me roll this recycling out? And he did it all for me. He made sure everybody was recycling, and they consistently recycled about 60% over time. So that's lesson 9. Is that I've got a couple of bonus lessons here, and every slide here I'm going to fill far more detail. Contractors will tell you what you want to hear, so you know, don't take what they say as read. Look into it and check what they're saying. I've got a couple of important stories about that. We had a contractor who was exporting waste which we didn't find out about until it was in the Daily Mail. Luckily, Newcastle University wasn't mentioned, but the local NHS was. So obviously this guy was lying through his teeth. So obviously we got rid of him. Lots of incidences of bad tonnage reporting and invoice anomalies. You know, it's a tough job, but you've got to try and monitor that. Especially the tonnage reporting. You know, we actually got someone in through tender to do bin weighs, and we found out the bin weight was only sort of like 30% accurate. So you know, that's just not good enough. And you know, I've learned that you get what you pay for. If someone's undercutting everybody else, it's because they want the contract, and you know you're going to pay for it in your time later on. And just a little quick word on free collection models, the electrical waste in particular. You know, I've had 2 different contractors with problems on that, so that also causes issues later on. And I've got a little note there: source separation, commingle of dirty nerve. That's a whole other webinar, but we can chat about that later on if we want. And lesson 11. This is looking. So I've left Newcastle obviously now, and this is looking back. And as your scheme matures, and everyone knows what they're doing, I was seeking to automise any process I could, which would free up my time to do other things. So what do I mean by automise? I mean, for example, just going back to here, for example, you can automise your bin ordering. If people want more bins, you can automise your electrical waste collection. So for example here, this is our waste collection for electricals, and all you do is to do that, right, is fill out this form, and then that form will go straight to the electrical waste contractor. I don't need to see it, I don't need to get involved. The electrical contractor turns up, takes the stuff away from the desk side, and it just ticks over, and it's sort of a system, it's set up and it runs itself almost. So I'd say automise where you can. And you can actually run through your systems and just start thinking, can I make this automatic? Even email responses, you know, you can have standard responses to loads of different things and just automise as much as possible. And lesson 12, finally, this is the end of it. Even when you've done your rollout and you think it's all complete and you've done your feedback, you've done your extra little activities, you always need to keep reminding people to recycle. I'll give you a good story and a lesson learned. So we got up to 60% recycling within 6 months, and that was all source separated recycling. So I was asking staff to separate into different containers, which was a big ask. We then changed contract halfway through to a company who could provide dry mixed recycling, so everything goes in together. Now the contract was really cheap, so I made a mistake and went for it. Well, no, it wasn't a mistake, but it was a lesson learned. Went for that contract, and I assumed that the staff would carry on separating the waste out and would keep that 60% source separated waste. What I found though over time was that source separation actually dropped back down to 30%, and the rest of that recycling performance, right up to 90%, was all from a dirty MRF. So if everyone knows what a dirty MRF is, it's where there's some automatic separation of mixed recyclables, but there's also manual separation. So you know, it's kind of recycling but cheating. So lesson 12 is there's never any closure. You've got to keep on it. You know, if you every year minimum, but you know, every quarter if you can, depending on resources. Okay, so that was the end of that. I've just got a couple of motivational quotes there for you. If this applies to any activity really, you know, if you're like going to start something new, never let perfection get in the way of just getting started. So you know, good enough is a good start. If something's just good enough, so get cracking as you can, as quick as you can. I've got one there from Banksy, which is kind of similar. You know, you don't need to ask people, just start doing it. You know, and forgiveness. You know, that shows a bit of humility again. And also, fortune cookie, many false steps was made by standing still. So I share all of my materials. Emily says she's looking to count material from 30 minutes in a percentage. And she's asking how many of you count the 30 minute percentage. That's a really interesting question. Maybe you'll respond. So final slide. I share all my materials. You know, anything you've seen today, I can provide in the webinar note. You know, that goes for strategies, action plans, even duty of care action plans, and communication, that sort of thing. So give us a shout if you need me. I'm actually working on my own now, with a couple of contractors, so if you ever need any support, I'm also there. I do short, medium, long-term projects, and I can look at specific projects for you, and I can even do one-to-one coaching webinars where I sit with you and your staff and go through particular issues. And there's my contact details. It's daniel@wasteaction.com, and if you're interested, I also run a platform called Warbit. If you haven't heard of Warbit, basically that is it's an online trading platform where I provide a off-the-shelf marketplace for your organisation, so your staff can sort of share stuff inside the organisation and between organisations. We're saving people a lot of money. We've got 30 plus universities using this now, so if that's of interest, give me a shout. But so that's the end of the presentation. I've just done it on an hour, so I haven't had much time for questions, so sorry about that. But yeah, are there any questions?
That was brilliant. Thank you, Daniel. This is Emma from the EAUC. As Daniel just said, if there are any questions, I can actually unmute you and people can ask them themselves if they just wanted to type yes or I have a question or anything like that. If not, if there are any there that Daniel, you can see, then feel free to read them out and answer them as they come in.
Thanks, Laura. Lara, sorry. Should we have a chat about Dirty Murph if there's no immediate questions, because it's obviously a controversial area?
Yeah, that's something that's come up here in the question box.
Great. Okay. Well. Okay. So this is my personal observations about Dirty Murph, and it comes to the quality of the recyclate, really. Now, Dirty Murph operators will tell you that they have no problem with finding markets for the stuff that comes out of Dirty Murph, but you can't get away from the fact that that's downgraded material. So the paper's been wet, and it can't be used to make new paper anymore. It's got to be used to make cardboard or whatever. So it's, although it provides a nice, easy to use system for the staff, which is great, I think in the future we might actually be encouraged and then forced to do source segregation. Not now, but when resource problems start to hit in the future. I mean, Dirty Murphs are great for local authority waste because it's harder to get householders to respond than to recycle, and it might be good for your student areas. Mike says downcycling is better than landfill, and yes, spot on, Mike. I totally agree. That's an alternative view, and actually, it is better than landfill. One thing I would say about landfill is at least it's not being burned, because when you burn something, it's lost forever. But when it's in a landfill, when technology catches up, you might be able to pull that material back out again. But yeah, I mean, we use Dirty Murph at the tackle. We have done for two to 3 years. We'll count that in our recycling rate. It's 90% plus. So yeah, we do talk about it, but I think from there are issues around ethical and recycling quality.
I have a question, Daniel, if that's okay to ask. I'm sure other people are thinking as well, but I was just wondering, what was the biggest hurdle for you?
Oh, good question. Biggest hurdle is the people. You've got to be constantly motivated to push the scheme, and that's hard. I talked about mindset at the start. You've got to have the right mindset for getting abuse and getting challenged, which is the same in any a sustainability practitioner. We are all trying to change people's behaviour. So that means people don't like change. So you're always persuading and selling. So yeah, the biggest challenge is the people. and keep them staying motivated. You'll notice any sustainability person has a flat forehead, and that's from banging your head against the wall.
Brilliant. Is there anyone else that has any questions? We've got Victoria. Dawn says, did you have the budget or did you have to ask, and also did you have a team?
Yeah, so this is resources. There was a budget for bins. Yes, we had a budget, and for communications. So yeah, I think we spent about 50k on bins in the long run. No team as such. There was just the waste manager, which actually is an important thing to have. I think someone who's totally devoted to waste. But no team under me. However, we did have, as I said, building these networks of people who can help you: cleaners, porters, building managers. You spread yourself thin. So you've got to try and get as much help as you can.
Brilliant. Are there any other questions from anyone now?
There's a great tip from Victoria there, and there's actually a lot of experience in the chat room now for them. I know Mike's been through this a lot, but Victoria's saying, sorry, my laptop's playing off. Victoria's saying about getting a waste analysis or a snapshot of a waste analysis to get a good picture of your MRF composition. I would also say at that point, if you're looking for an accurate recycling figure, I actually every year I used to do a waste audit with the students. So I'd get about 20 students who were doing like a sustainability degree or equivalent, and I'd do a lecture on waste auditing. I'd then get them to audit the campus, train them up, give them all the PPE, give them all the instructions, correct instructions, and I'd get them to do a report on the waste audit. And then once we built that up after 3 or 4 years, they could actually do comparisons between each year. And that's another example of kind of like getting other people to do your job for you and actually doing it better than I ever could.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel that student involvement in any aspect when it's coming to sustainability issues within the university campus is brilliant. It engages everyone, and it's a wider project with more of a community focus.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do, but once you do the first one and you get it all set up and you buy all the equipment that you need, then it becomes much easier. And if anybody's interested in that, I can send out my risk assessment procedure, equipment list, all that sort of thing for doing a student waste order.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, I don't know about everyone else, but I think we can wrap it up. Again, as Daniel says, he's very open to any contact, any questions that come up afterwards. If you just email him at daniel@wasteaction.com or email EAUC and we'll pass anything on. As for me, I will now finish the recording and upload it online for everyone.
Lovely. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Okay. Brilliant. Thanks, Dan.
Cheers, now. Bye-bye.